All right, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the YouTube channel, the Black Brain Trust. Today is Monday. I believe this is Monday, September 3rd. Today is Monday, like I said, Space and Technology. How you all doing today? I'm one of your co-hosts, Lionel, with my other co-host, Mike. How you doing today, Mike?
Good brother yourself.
I'm well, I'm well. All right, we got a great show for you all tonight. I feel this is going to be another geekathon. So with that said, let's get started on our first article for the night. Comes from Crypto Briefing, titled "How the Blockchain is Speeding Up Our Travel." A 3-hour tour became an invention worth watching, written by Brian Penny on August 27th. It doesn't seem like the transportation industry could be completely disrupted by cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Of course, the idea of both Lyft and Uber dominating local transportation industries across the globe seemed laughable a decade ago, too. Truly innovative technology always finds a way to seep into every aspect of our lives. We already discussed how the blockchain is changing shipping and commercial transportation of goods, but travel and consumer transport are very different industries. In fact, travel and tourism account for 10.4% of the global GDP. No discussion of travel and transportation will be complete without the topic of blockchain technology. From ride sharing to municipal transportation, air travel, car rentals, and car sales, everything coming up on blockchain. The blockchain based ride sharing economy. The basic ride sharing economy created by Uber and Lyft are the most likely marketplaces to be attacked by blockchain based startups. Although these companies save hundreds of millions of dollars by classifying drivers as independent contractors, they truly work more like employees, like independent entrepreneurs who depend on services like Etsy's, eBay, and Amazon to get products from in front of customers. Drivers depend on these two services. Uber basically acts like a marketplace that connects drivers to passengers. Blockchain based startups, Arcade City, which we've talked about extensively on this channel, thinks the blockchain is powerful enough to squeeze marketplace share away from these historic unicorn companies that already disrupted an established industry. By accepting crypto payments and decentralizing the marketplace, this new app appeals not only to rideshare drivers, but to crypto miners. Instead of electricity, you'll be trading your time and gasoline to earn ETH. Of course, Arcade City has a long way to go in balancing the supply and demand issues that come with building a two-sided marketplace. And it's not the only blockchain headed in that direction either. Chen Weixing, founder of Kudai Dache, Uber's Chinese-based competitor, announced in mid-2018 an intent to build blockchain-based Uber. There's plenty of reason to believe people want this solution. Uber is notorious for data issues, with a 2016 breach exposing the personal information of 20 million users and not being reported publicly until 2018. It also has a It also has to submit to regular FTC audits after it was revealed the company had hidden God mode that let drivers stalk passengers. Wow. The blockchain based ride hailing marketplace can be more secure, traceable, and efficient. And that's just one place crypto is hitting the transportation industry. Crypto planes, trains, and automobiles. Car rental companies are set to compete with HireGo, a blockchain-based car rental startup that uses its proprietary ERC20 HGO token to pay for car rentals in a peer-to-peer marketplace. Turo and several other companies are also competing in the peer-to-peer car network space, and none has gotten the traction of Uber or Lyft yet. Bus fare is one of the most wanted uses of cryptos, with over half of people responding to a recent survey saying they believe they'll pay bus fare in crypto within a decade. Two major bus companies in Brazil, Brasil Sul and, and Via Caio Garcia, are accepting BTC payments for bus fares. China's largest electric bus operator recently struck a 24 billion 3-year deal with Seven Stars Cloud Group to overhaul its finance services using blockchain technology. By trusting blockchain with ticketing, bus depots from municipal to cross country can better track vehicles for maintenance, charge passengers, route stops, and more. Train operators can benefit much the same. Testing is currently underway in Russia on better railway supply tracking using blockchain, and it's only a matter of time before more of the industry converts. Blockchain based vehicle tracking is of interest to airline companies like, like Lufthansa, too. Not only is the technology great for airplane maintenance, but crypto is ideal for airline loyalty programs, as Singapore Airlines proved with its blockchain-based KrisFlyer program. Expedia, excuse me, Expedia may have recently shunned Bitcoin, but the rest of the travel industry is on board the blockchain. Some blockchain bros are even boarding cruises. Technology is the root of our transportation industry, and industry leaders in each section are quickly waking up to the effects of blockchain will have on their industries. Will crypto spawn the next Uber or Lyft? All right. Um, a little insight here for the people that don't know. It said some blockchain bros are even boarding cruises. There's supposed to be a blockchain cruise that's coming up. That's why you put that in. But for the overall article, we all know that blockchain, or if at least if you listen to this, we say blockchain and logistics is go hand in hand. But the transportation industry, um, the way he put this, it's a fit, in my opinion, with the arcade city that we've been talking about on here for the past couple of months. We've been talking about that and how they plan to disrupt Uber and Lyft, like Uber and Lyft disrupted the taxi industry. Other, other industries such as he mentioned the bus fare transportation, things like that that you may not think of initially, but as the technology becomes more and more prevalent and you think about it more and more, things like that, people paying for their bus fare with their phones because like what, I want to say 20 years ago, you had to, at least in Chicago, you had the tokens and you easily use the tokens. Then you had the paper the paper transfers, which if you got wet or torn, they're of no use or even lost. So I say that to say to give an example of how efficient this blockchain can make these different industries, and also of how I want to say safe compared to its past. It can make these different industries. You got any points on this, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on a few topics such as the tokens that you guys used to use on your transit system out in Chicago. We used to have the same exact thing out here in Massachusetts. We used to have tokens for the MBTA system, which is the transit authority out here in Massachusetts. So those, if you think about it just for a second, those tokens were actually proprietary to the system, which makes them a little bit more crypto-like because you couldn't spend them anywhere outside the transit system, right?
Hmm.
So we know that adopting a proprietary currency such as a token is actually efficient as long as it works within the ecosystem. So adopting a cryptocurrency within a closed loop system like a transit system or airline system um, is actually is actually beneficial. People trade their
Mhm.
U.S. dollars for this sort of token, and um, they get to ride for whatever the distance and duration is. So if you're a transit system like a metro system out in Chicago or Boston or out in LA, that actually can be beneficial. And um, the other point is the whole entire blockchain discussion. Blockchain is a new infrastructure. It's a new digital infrastructure that's readily available if you so have the intentions on using infrastructure for your next objective. And in this sort of discussion, there are a variety of things that you could use a blockchain for. I think you know, there was an email sent out with a mini documentary about something going on in Florida in terms of human trafficking and things like that, or
Mhm.
I forget the correct term.
Mhm.
That can all be stopped with blockchain. All of that
Yes. Yes.
scamming, the insurance fraud, all of that can be stopped with blockchain.
Yeah. The uh the healthcare the that Florida shuffle the with the healthcare scams. Yeah. Now that you mention it, and this and this is what I mean. Yeah, we understand what blockchain is here. On the people listening on this channel, we understand what blockchain is, and we see the surface um on the surface what blockchain can be used for. Logistics, food tracking, things like that. Okay, but then when you really think about it, someone may say something like you just did, and you think about it, it's like, yeah, you're right. Or someone may say something else that you would have never thought about it before, or that may spawn you to think about, well, you can use that. I wonder if blockchain can use for this. Just like a couple of weeks ago, we read where someone was using blockchain to prevent um, on for the computers the prevent hacking of or viruses. I think it was hacking of computers, and I, you broke it down. I said, you're right. You can use blockchain for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they mentioned something in the article about airplane parts. Anybody who knows anything about the airline industry, those planes use I think at least a million different parts and screws and things of that nature for logistics to actually get a plane off the ground. It's amazing that it even works in the first place. Um, those parts have to be tracked. You have to make sure that there's no supply chain espionage and disruption, because that's one of the ways that nation states work against each other is they cause disruption in the supply chain. This is how the Iranian nuclear facility was actually brought to its knees through a cyber attack. They intercepted the supply chain by looking at the motors and the solenoids and the other parts that go inside a nuclear reactor, and they were able to write down serial numbers, and other codes um, revolve around the engine that actually pumps all the nuclear material, and they were
Mm.
able to attack it. Now, had they used the blockchain, they would have known that there was some tampering going on, because there would have been disruption in the chain itself.
Right, right. It's outstanding. Well, we got a few more blockchain-based articles before we segue into the more geekish articles. Not to say that blockchain is not geekish, but hopefully you understand. This next article comes from CoinDesk.com, titled "California Legislature Finalizes Blockchain Working Group Bill," written by Nikalesh D. on August 29th. Article: California may soon be forming a working group to examine the potential benefits of blockchain to the state and how best to update laws to make use of the technology. California Bill 2658, first introduced in February 2018, originally recognized a record that is secured through blockchain technology is an electronic record, as previously reported. However, the final version, as of Monday, now directs the Secretary of the Government Operations Agency to create a blockchain working group to study the technology instead. It also adds that for the purpose of this chapter, blockchain means a mathematically secured, chronological, and decentralized ledger or database. Though this definition is temporary and will expire by January 2022. The working group, whose chairperson will be designated no later than July 1st, 2019, will include members from within the technology industry, as well as representatives from related fields. Stakeholders will be able to provide input to the group, which will then be responsible for recommending changes for the state legislator. According to the bill, the group will specifically examine how blockchain can be used by the government and local businesses, what risks might come from using blockchain, how blockchain can benefit businesses and the government, how blockchain use can fit into California law, and the best practices for enabling blockchain technology to benefit the state of California, California-based businesses, and California residents. The group has until July 1st, 2022 to draft its report, which shall include recommendations for modifications to the definition of blockchain and recommendations for amendments to other code sections that may be impacted by the deployment of blockchain. Public records show that both the state Senate and the General Assembly have passed the bill after third readings as of Monday, meaning it should now go to Governor Jerry Brown, who has 30 days to allow the bill to become law or veto it. Public records show that both the state Senate and General Assembly passed the bill with an overwhelming majority, likely protecting it against any potential veto. All right, a few things. California is the only state I've been hearing about that is, I don't want to say bullish, but um, will open a, will lend an ear to how blockchain will benefit the government. And if they say, yes, we will use blockchain in government, everyday government um, workings, and on top of that, they say, well, it's helpful, then I see the door opening for other states to use it who may have said no to it in the past. Two, it says that it will use blockchain throughout every section of the California government. So that means, again, efficiency. Blockchain, to me, blockchain equals efficiency. All of those times you may have gone to the DMV and had to fill out unnecessary paperwork, taxes, state taxes, um, even little something to birth certificates, or trying to get your high school transcripts from 20 years ago. That little stuff like that, not just the big stuff, but focusing on the little things that you may not think of right now can make the government of California more efficient. Any points?
It sounds to me like they're trying to provide governance around the technology itself. So they know that the technology is heavily used, and it's going to be widely implemented everywhere else. And I think they just want to get a clutch on the implementation of it. So it's kind of like um, they're standardizing the way blockchain would actually be used and implemented. So kind of like putting building codes on infrastructure, on physical infrastructure, on brick and mortars,
Hmm.
right? So you can only build a certain height, certain width, things of that nature. Similar to that, every car that's produced off the assembly line, there has to be some form of airbag standardization. I think what they're trying to do is add that sort of working group around blockchain to make sure that it doesn't, if it's adopted, then this is the way that it will be implemented and standardized.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Um,
Mhm.
Now, if it is implemented and standardized within the California government, how can you see it helping or may not help the California government?
There's a variety of ways that you can use it. I mean, California it sits on a fault line, so you have
Ooh.
early warning detection, broadcast alerts. You don't want, a bad guy, a threat actor, actually compromising the early warning detection system, saying that North Korea is sending out a nuclear missile, or there's a tsunami coming, or there was an earthquake. You have to, get to your highest location or something to that effect. False alerts cause panic, and panic causes disaster. So um,
Hmm.
putting that putting your early warning detection system on your blockchain could actually make things more trusted.
That's a good one. And this is what I mean. Someone say something and all of a sudden you may think of something else because when you said the fault line, I immediately thought about wildfires. Well, the wildfires that goes on in Northern California. Okay, you have people out there working and trying to extinguish these wildfires, but you may not know that another wildfire started in this area, or it may have burned itself out in this area. So you're sending um, needed manpower to a wildfire that burned out, and you could stop this wildfire from encircling you. So if you have that continuously updated ledger to say, okay, this is the continuous status of what's going on. Now, again, blockchain equals efficiency in my eye. Okay, so we can now know where to best put our manpower to try to extinguish this statewide um, um, wildfire. Amazing. I like this. All right. Any other points on that one? All
Nothing for
right.
me.
Cool. All right. Next article comes from bitcoinist.com. And again, we're inching more toward to our hyper geek section. Despite market struggles, cryptocurrency and blockchain are in full swing across Asia, and companies looking to hire certainly have no shortage of prospect candidates. The title is Asia sees 50% uptick in blockchain and cryptocurrency jobs, written by Kevin O'Brien on September 1st. Asia, cryptocurrency landscape taking shape. The number of blockchain and crypto related startups has rapidly increased in Asia over the last few years. Some believe innovation in both industries could breathe new life into struggling economies and spur on nations to become global leaders in fintech. Some leaders, like Congressman Jason Su in Taiwan, are crusading to pass legislation and are collaborating with industry leaders to use blockchain and virtual currency to drive economic growth. Other nations like China have decided to go in the other direction so far. Leaders in the Asian nation have banned ICOs and have shuttered leading exchanges. However, many of those affected are not closing up shop, but rather expanding their operations after moving to other Asian nations like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. All of this enthusiasm and digital currency, all this enthusiasm about digital currency and blockchain in Asia has led to a lot of opportunities for knowledgeable job seekers to get plugged into startups and corporations. And this trend is only going to continue. Choosing a job they love. Recruitment firm Robert Walters recently noted how they have seen a 50% uptick in the number of jobs in Asia since 2017 with relation to cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. They specifically pointed out how entities are looking for candidates who have experience with the Python programming language. Booyah. Additionally, information from job search engine Indeed also shows a lot of interest in blockchain jobs from candidates in India, Singapore, and Malaysia. In the Asian market, many of those jumping into cryptocurrency and blockchain worlds are coming from other industries. The reason, according to John Mullally of Robert Walters, is there's a small number of people with the experience and knowledge needed for blockchain development roles. Even though a turbulent cryptocurrency market in 2018 has somewhat tempered the Asian market for Bitcoin related jobs, blockchain roles still have remained extremely popular across the region. Good respect for the future, good prospects for the future. Positions related to blockchain and cryptocurrency have been a fast growing sector for a while now, but momentum looks to be specifically prominent in Asia for a few reasons. Some believe virtual currencies could help simplify and further facilitate the $128 billion remittance industry in Southeast Asia. Remittances are an important part of the national economy and livelihood for a number of people in the region, and many companies have started to look into how cutting edge technologies could revolutionize the industry. Places like Hong Kong and India have also taken big steps to experiment with blockchain and have attracted a lot of job talent as a recruitment. In early August, the Indian state of Telangana said they formed the nation's first blockchain district. The country has also initiatives like 1101, with a focus on creating an ecosystem for blockchain related startups to get up and running. Just recently, authorities in Hong Kong released a list of professions where where experienced personnel could receive expedited immigration services. Intended to attract global talent to the area, the list indicated officials were looking for experts in artificial intelligence, robots, distributed ledger technology, and biometrics. I'm going to defer to you on this one, Mike.
Well, on this channel, the Black Brain Trust, we've been talking about blockchain since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Part of why we talk about this is because it's a part of the fourth industrial revolution. So the new fourth industrial revolution requires digital architects and digital engineers. And if you are not a part of that in some way, shape, or fashion, you are not going to make it over the next 5 to 10, if not more years, because this is the requirement. This is the bare minimum. Um, according to the article Indeed on Indeed.com, jobs are popping up. I've seen listings for blockchain developers at 200,000 a year,
Wow.
and this is just this is in New York. So we know that it's a very very lucrative market. Cryptocurrency development is in rapid growth everywhere. Every country is looking to adopt some form of new digital currency with security. Security is another part. Cybersecurity is another portion of the trifecta of these new skill sets that's in demand. And then you take in the cloud. Cloud is what we call IaaS, infrastructure as a service.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about you need digital architects and digital engineers that can actually drive the cloud, drive the cryptocurrency, and you need security as well, because security is a function of the business, the line of business. So every company, every application, every piece of infrastructure has to be secure and compliant, to meet standards in the industry today. We saw that the European Union has pushed GDPR out early June this year. Um, that's a sign that security is in high demand. According to the article, blockchain is in high demand. Cryptocurrency development is in high demand. Tokenization is a part of the cryptocurrency realm. So all of these factors matter. Python is a language that you
Yeah.
need to learn if you're gonna be in this arena. Um, Python is the new Spanish. you can speak Spanish, that's fine, but can you develop code in Python is the real question, because it's a new language that needs to be spoken if you're going to be in this arena. So
Yeah,
um,
it it seems to me that Python is. I keep seeing this up, seeing this pop up, but Python is the language of blockchain.
yes, because it's easy. It was developed. It's the easiest way to develop it. Basically, it was the easiest
Mm,
way to develop it. Nobody really uses. It's nothing wrong with C++, but Python is a spinoff of C++. So
okay.
less
Now,
it's less code involved. It's less code writing involved to get the same performance.
oh, okay, I see. I see. Now, I've heard a video today about someone talking about blockchain, and I believe he said he got his information from a podcast, Wall Street Journal Future something podcast. But in it, he was saying that they were discussing how in the future, when I say future, we mean within the next 2 decades, how things are going to be tokenized. Um, I believe that a Van Gogh art painting was previously tokenized, where people can own parts of the Van Gogh art painting. So when that painting go up in price, those people that own parts of that Van Gogh painting make money. But not only that, but real estate going to be tokenized. Blocks in residential areas going to be tokenized because it has real estate on it. Different things are going to be tokenized for people can invest in and make money on. So I say that to say you need people that can be able to write the type of code in order to tokenize things. The back end is going to have to be taken care of.
Well, I just want to touch on the point that you brought up about the Van Gogh painting. So I think what they're trying to do with painting and artwork is basically create an ETF out of the artwork itself, so that the value of the artwork never depreciates. It either stabilizes or it increases in value
Mm,
because so many people are now invested into it, right? So if you get a million people to invest into it through a token, through tokenization, then what that does to the value of the artwork is it shoots it right through the roof.
yes, that and say this again. That's why I'm a big advocate of people learning about cryptocurrency and blockchain. These things are not just here because this isn't some funny money or some uh Warcraft type stuff. No, 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 no. This is real stuff that's going on, and a lot of people need to be a part of it because what you just said, something is getting tokenized. All of a sudden, the value shoots straight to the roof. All of a sudden, you're gonna have these people in the future saying, "Oh, see, look at no, just ignorant talk." So we here are a big advocate of learning and getting to these sections that we're talking about, this fourth industrial revolution, because it's going to be big in the future. It is the future. Huh. And we can't stress it enough. All right, any other points?
Good.
All right, all right. Uh, 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 I feel a gust of geek coming on. I think we're getting closer here. All right, this next article comes from Cointelegraph.com, written by Helen Parts. Title: Walmart's latest blockchain patent lets robots conduct deliveries across supply chain. Written September 1st. All right, the article goes. I think it's kind of frozen here. My apologies, people. All right. Oh, I think I had the answer there at the top. Okay. The U.S. retail giant Walmart has applied to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, or USPTO, to patent a blockchain system for deliveries, according to according to an official patent document released on August 30th. The new patent aims to provide a technology for running in-field authenticating and autonomous electronic vehicles to enable secure deliveries. The patent, the patent specifies that in exemplary embodiments, two autonomous electronic devices, such as delivery drones or household autonomous robots, can authenticate each other using embodiments of security procedures described herein. The patent is entitled Systems, Devices, and Methods for In-Field Authenticating and Autonomous Robots and was filed in January 2018 by Arkansas-based Walmart Stores Incorporated. The document describes a system of operating multiple robots or drones that conduct package deliveries all across the supply chain. The machines are intended to operate based on wireless signals that enable blockchain-powered secure authentication of electronic devices' identities. According to the patent application, the deployment of blockchain will be useful in the process of recording authentication signals and data, which is considered to be a primary target of hackers. Quote, updates to the blockchain may comprise authentication signals or identification information, and one or more nodes on the system may be configured to incorporate one or more updates into blocks to add to the distributed database. End quote. Walmart has applied for a number of blockchain related patents in the US in the past year. According to Investopedia, blockchain technology enhancement is mainly being used by the retail in order to help Walmart keep pace with its rivals such as Amazon. Recently, Walmart applied for a patent on systems and methods for managing smart appliances via blockchain. The technology would allow users to customize levels of access and control for appliances such as portable computing devices. In mid July, the retail giant patented the technology for a blockchain powered delivery management system that can keep delivered items safe until their purchasers are able to sign for and collect them. All right, I remember I want to say 2 months ago maybe that we went over a bevy of articles pertaining to delivery services, and Walmart was one of them. And with again, these are just breadcrumbs along the pathway. But as we read these articles, we see a Walmart is applying for a lot of patents. It seems like Walmart's and Mastercard are applying for a lot of patents that are blockchain based, and that to me seems like they at least understand the technology and what this technology can do to their business in the future. So they're jumping on the ball and trying to get ahead of the curve. Because with the say the retail apocalypse, Walmart, I have to give it up for Walmart. They seem like it's saw the writing on the wall and they're trying to catch up. But with this patent, to me, it seems like they are working on some type of delivery service that delivers packages straight to you from local warehouses, local Walmart warehouses. To me,
Well, it has more to do, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but it has a lot to do with um, long-term investment. So that means for their shareholders, this is a positive sign that they are in it for the long haul. That means they're not bowing out. You know, unlike Western Union, who was very bullish on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Um, Walmart is looking at the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, and saying, how can we use it to our advantage? Now, you look at the patents, or at least according to the article, the amount of patents that Walmart is filing, and then you look at FedEx as well as UPS. and their investment into the blockchain. What what this is going to do going forward is going to allow Walmart to communicate, to actually interop with um, delivery services such as UPS and FedEx and DHL, and create this whole global network on the blockchain for delivery of goods. So therefore, their blockchain, their cloud can actually talk to another third-party vendor for shipping logistics and the supply chain as mentioned in the article, and that makes it easy when you bring your infrastructure to somebody else and you're not adopting somebody else's infrastructure and not being reliant on it.
They okay. Then you said that they're building the entire infrastructure right now. You know, when you build an infrastructure, a building, you can't see the entire building. People may not have that foresight, but what they're building right now is going to be a part of the future. They say to their shareholders, "Yeah, we're going to be a part of the future, so we're building the infrastructure for it right now." And I agree with everything you said. It maybe because we read these articles, and on top of this, from week to week, that we see a much larger portion of the picture than everyone else. And it's I mean, we see it. We see it is right there in front of us. Hey, this is what they're doing. It's To me, it's amazing to me. And sometimes I'm speechless about it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where Walmart refuses to be left behind by its competitors, namely Amazon. Amazon has a head start because they had an advantage of not having a brick and mortar foundation to begin with, and relied solely on cyberspace. So the startup cost was immensely minimum for them in comparison to Walmart, who has 900 stores around the world, and they basically are footing the bill for 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 square feet of retail space that's eating them up every month by a bare minimum of 25 grand a month. You take that 25 grand a month and you close down quite a few stores and you pump that into to a blockchain infrastructure, and now you've recouped all your money back in less than 6 months.
Again, like this, I'm just reiterating the same thing over and over again. But for those that people listen to this show week in, week out, what we're saying is just not saying, "Oh, this is what we think, this is what we feel." Maybe no, this is real. It's around the corner. 2020 is around the corner. It's what 18 what not 16 18 months away. And this is when new technology start coming on board. You're gonna see when you start to hear it on TV more and more again, in the commercials and so forth. Companies, all of a sudden you're gonna hear companies say, "Oh, we're blockchain," "Oh, we use AI, IoT," and so forth and so forth. So strap in, ladies and gentlemen. It's the future is about to get really quick, really fast. And with that said, this geek session is about to start. So, if your eyes get cross-eyed, we apologize. But yeah. All right. The next article on our docket comes from, at least it's a Seeker. Let me double check. Yeah. Seeker. It's a YouTube channel. And the the name of the video is "Engineers Are Making Squishy Bio-Inspired Robots." In this video, she asks, when you think about robots, what do you think? Knowing people think about, Terminator or the cold steel, thoughts of robots in their when they think about it. But what she's talking about now is how scientists are making robots that are soft and look more marine. Well, in this video, marine-like or animal-like, or in other words, they're making them to mimic what you see in everyday life. Just like I think with the Boston Dynamics, the robots that walk like dogs and function like dogs. But the robots is taking a turn in directions instead of going through this going down the same path. Well, what you think robots are, but now they're starting to like octopuses or fish or dogs or simple things that you see every day, and it's not hard or steel or anything like that. It's something soft. Well, in this video they start with some type of rubber, but in the future you may not know where they go in the future. Again, I'm going to defer to you on this one, Mike, because what I saw in this video earlier, I won't say it's mind blowing yet, but I can see where they're going with this.
Creating their own Jurassic World.
Ooh, that's a good point.
If you can reinvent dinosaurs to make them more lively and actually have them actually move and stomp the ground and yell at the top of their lungs, that's to me that's impeccable. I can guarantee you that would turn zoos upside down in terms of their customer base.
I would go just to, yeah, I would go just to see this.
Right. Kids are enamored by it, right? So they don't know any better.
Hmm. And then and you mentioned that in the video, the little fish they see right there, it looks really real. They were saying that how it can go deeper in the ocean than some of the submarines that they have, like the Alvin submarine. It can go deeper in the ocean because they're making it to mimic the fish that live in those depths of ocean. So now they can explore the depths of oceans like they really wanted to. And just imagine they make, I know they have drones, but birds. They make robotic birds and to fly. Just just the imagination of what they're starting to do, and it seems like all of this technology is coming online at the same time. This is something. But that the dinosaur thing, I would definitely go see that just to be seeing it because kids are enamored with it, the T Rex and the Brontosaurus and all that, and including remember we talked about I think it was 3 weeks ago. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, but the prototype of the um what you call that, the device that helps you breathe underwater. It's like wearable. This is some amazing stuff. They're starting to crank out some good stuff here. Hmm. Any other points on this one?
Not for me.
All right. Our next article comes from space.com. Space, where you have space. All right. NASA just gave the Opportunity rover a survival deadline on Mars. Here's what that means. This thing has been going on forever. Okay. Written by Megan Bartels on August 31st. All right. NASA on Thursday, August 30th, announced a deadline for its recovery of the Mars rover Opportunity, which has been silent for months while battling a dust storm. And some scientists intimately familiar with the project say timeline, that new timeline doesn't do the grizzled robot justice. The rover, which launched in 2003 and landed on Mars on January 2004, has been giving its humans the cold shoulder since June 10th, when a fierce dust storm enveloped the red planet and blocked the sun from the robot's solar panels. The storm has started to die down, so the team hopes with The team hopes that with enough time, the rover should be able to power on again and get back to work after its long hibernation. But scientists familiar with the mission say that NASA's new schedule doesn't offer the hard-working rover that time. Opportunity has everything going for her. Tanya Harrison, sound like she's black, okay, a planetary scientist at Arizona State University and a science team collaborator with on Opportunity, told Space.com. She said that depending on how the timeline aligns with Martian weather, we're not going, we're not giving it a fair shot. Here's NASA's plan. First, the team will wait until the tau, a measurement of how much dust clouds the air, lowered to 1.5. At the peak of the storm, the tau was likely around 10, a level 1 rover expert called terrifying. Then the team will begin a 45-day active listening period, during which they will send commands up to the rover that should force it to respond. Finally, if the silence continues, the team will transition into passive listening, eavesdropping on Mars, observing antennas for chance signals from opportunity. Regardless of when the 45-day period ends, the team will continue passively listening through the end of January. John Callis, Opportunity Project Manager at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, told Space.com. But at the end of January, the rover's time will be up, and with it, the Mars Exploration Rover's mission, which originally consisted of Opportunity and its sister robot Spirit. We're not ending the mission after 45 days, Callis told Space.com, but I'm not going to keep full staffing around for 6 months or 8 months if the chance of success is low. If this year's dust storm is indeed the end of Opportunity, no one will be able to say the rover wasn't a survivor. Opportunity and Spirit, which landed on the planet in 2004, were expected to last only 90 Martian days, about 40 minutes longer than, than an Earth day. On the planet's surface, in part because scientists expected the dust would slowly bury the robot. According to Don Banfield, a planetary scientist at Cornell University who works with the Mars Exploration Rover team, but Spirit lasted for 7 years, and Opportunity was approaching its 15th year at work when the storm hit. Banfield said that this storm is serious business, one of the biggest observed from the Martian surface to date. Although the storm is clearing, it's difficult for scientists to predict how tau, their crucial measure of light penetrating to the surface, will fare. Getting the last little bit of dust out of the air takes a good amount of time. Mike Siebert, a former flight director for the Mars Exploration Rover program, told Space.com. There's also one big problem with the Martian skies clearing. All that dust has nowhere to go but down. I think look, I think that's the real scary thing right now is that we know that the dust storm is going to fall out of the sky, but it has to go somewhere, Banfield said. Dust sitting on Opportunity solar panels will block the rover's power supply just as effectively as dust in the air does. And according to Siebert, engineers have no way to figure out how dusty the panels are. One factor, excuse me, one factor could rescue Opportunity solar panels from that fate, a phenomenon that surprised scientists when they first observed it early in the rover's career. A predictable seasonal cycle of winds that are strong enough to blow dust off instruments and rovers. Those winds events could begin in terrestrial time in November and last until January, said Harrison, who began her work with the Mars Exploration Rover's team by producing Martian weather forecasts when there were still twin robots. But it's not yet clear how that will align with the 45-day window opening after the atmosphere hits 1.5 tau. So, from what NASA has stated publicly so far, engineers trying to reach the rover may not be able to send it active commands at the times when those commands are most likely to work. The overwhelming team consensus Harrison has heard is that the active listening sound continued through dust clearing season, which in the grand scheme of things it's not that long from now. She said, "You're not going to suddenly be saving tens of millions of dollars by cutting the mission short." All right, this is I'll see a longish article. Um, so with from what I read, they're basically saying that we reported, I want to say 3 weeks ago still, that there was a huge dust storm that enveloped the entire planet of Mars. And again, if you all don't know, Mars is not as big as Earth. It's a little smaller, but this dust storm enveloped the entire planet. It was it was a phenomenon. It basically buried all the rovers. But now with this rover wasn't supposed to last as long, but it has. And they just been using it to take more measurements and mapping of Mars. But now what they're saying is this rover still needs a complete team for it to operate. And if it's not operating, they don't want to continue to waste money on a rover. So they're giving it a window for it to get back on its feet and continue its job if it's going to do that. If not, they're just going to shut it down. So in the article, they're just saying what the um the plan is, how they're going to execute it, and some other things, some other variables that could help it get back on its feet. Any other points on this one, Mike?
Um, it's just more continuation of what they were trying to do before. Obviously, nothing really, nothing really to write home about other than the fact that it's still working to this very day, which proves that it's it's an engineering superiority in comparison to other projects that may have been worked on in the past. It's surpassing the standards. It's creating new standards. Basically, if you can develop a rover like this that can survive dust storms and go past its expiration date and still be functional, uh, you may have to step your game up in terms of development and try to meet the rover's standards as it is right now. That's all I have.
Okay, okay. I was hoping Ulysses or Complex would be here for our next article on the docket. Next one is the Icarus electric rocket, thrust vectored flying dust ducted fan. On the emails, he was saying how
Let's
this.
let's let's skip that article. Put it at the bottom.
Roger that. Roger that. All right. Almost. Okay. Our next article comes from CGTN. It's a YouTube video titled "Luxembourg Aims for Space Expedition." Um, I laugh because we've been talking about. I think 2 weeks ago we talked about the the what was it? How companies were starting to put space stations in space. We've focused on two, but we're starting to see more and more companies, governments, private institutions start to put these stations in space, start colonizing space, mining asteroids, comets if they can't get one, and start to go to other planets, go to the moon, have the moon be a jump off point to go to further planets like Mars, even Mercury. I don't know too much about Venus, but even to the outer jovial planets such as the moons of Saturn and Jupiter and so forth. But in this one, they're talking about Luxembourg and how they're planning to do the exact same thing that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. They're going to start putting these stations in space in low Earth orbit, And from there, they're going to start building other stations to have I'm saying robots, but still autonomous robots, mine asteroids, and mine the precious materials in the asteroids for the what's the word I'm looking for the government's favor. Now, what am I missing that I didn't say about this one, Mike?
Well, Luxembourg is actually the um, private banking hub of the European Union, and a lot of their wealth actually comes from mining. So they mine iron and ore, things of that nature. So they made a
So they
transition
experts in that
to
business.
get into right. So they made a transition to get into asteroid mining. They already have the knowledge of mining on the ground, so it was just a matter of transitioning it to the space exploration portion of it. So after they um, after they made that transition, which was only about 5 years, 2% of their GDP, if I remember correctly, actually comes from space exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's
So that's pretty good. So they're actually looking at harnessing asteroids and mining these asteroids as they do have those minerals on there. And I think they listed in the video as something like over 2 dozen raw minerals that could be actually exploited from just an asteroid itself.
2 dozen raw material that from any asteroid. 2 dozen.
Most most asteroids.
More okay. Most asteroids. That's pretty good. When you think about the number of asteroids in the asteroid belt, which
Right.
what was it, billions or trillions?
Oh, I don't even know the number. But the um, but the video, if you look at the video, it actually shows that they have the design in place to actually catch an asteroid and pull it and basically lasso it like they would a horse, like a cowboy would a horse or a bull, and actually slow it down or get behind it just enough so that they can actually, I guess, get on board and hijack it and exploit the resources that's on there.
Mm-hmm. That's now. Um, I forgot what I was about to say. Okay, so they transition their mining operations that they are already experts in to mining asteroids. Okay, that's check. We got that. They already did. They already made their transition. Okay, check. We got that. Luxembourg. Luxembourg, as far as geographically speaking, is not as big as other, European countries in what's
It's
that,
about the
Western
size of
Europe.
Chicago.
Yeah, it's pretty small. They right now I think the richest country in the world in terms of GDP is Qatar. They can surpass them in one fell swoop, one great leap. Tell you the truth, when they start mining these asteroids, especially if they say that the average asteroid has 12 um uh uh what's what I'm looking for? I won't say minerals, but they can mine off there. Not only that, but they can sell it to other countries that they may need iron ore or any other 12 materials that they mine off these asteroids. So they're putting their country in a good position to be a wealthy country.
Right. These are things that we've been discussing for the last 90 days, if not longer. That there is a growing market. Every one in every three startups will be a space startup. You don't have just individuals going on the ground after the market. You have whole nation states going after the market. So if you don't have these skill sets, such as the what we discussed earlier, blockchain, Python, crypto development, security engineering, compliance, risk management, cloud development, cloud engineering, and tack on the physical engineering aspect of it, electrical, electronic, mechanical engineering. These are the skill sets that's going to be necessary if you want to get into these markets and survive and be competitive.
I think a lot of people is going to be left behind with when a lot of this stuff come online, because right now we don't hear a lot about it in the media. You really have to go. You really have to search for it, or by some happenstance stumbling into it. But when a lot of it come online, a lot of people is going to be caught with the pants down. Wow, I didn't know about this. Let me get into this. But the many people that they're going to think the same way, and the many people that are going to be in it already, you're going to be quickly left behind. But this is something amazing. The mining of asteroids for precious raw materials is, like we said, it's part of the next fourth industrial revolution.
It's $1 trillion market, and there's no reason not to go after it.
Yeah, at least $1 trillion market. At least, not
For
the
right
most.
now,
Okay.
yeah, for right now, it's $1 trillion market, depending on what you can get out of it. Right now, they're just in the early phases of it. Private space exploration is right now is where Netscape was in 1994. You can
Mm,
connect, you can get on the internet and browse a few pages, but you can't fully exploit it, right? You can't fully use Adobe Shockwave or I shouldn't say Adobe Shockwave, but Macromedia Shockwave. At the time, it was Macromedia. Now it's Adobe, but now you have Flash, and now you have um, what do you call that? Opera and Mozilla and Safari. You have all these new ways of connecting, to these websites and stuff. So you give it, 5 or 10 years or so, it's going to be a pretty tight market, just like the internet was a tight market after 2000.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, let's get into some the next item on the docket. This is from TechRadar.com. AMD Ryzen Threadripper second generation release date, news and features. Written by Bill Thomas 5 days ago. All right, article. In April 2018, AMD launched its Ryzen's second generation processors and completely blew the first generation out the water in terms of performance. It now appears that AMD plans to do the same thing with Ryzen Threadripper second generation to produce the very best high-end desktop processors you can buy in 2018. Just like the move from Ryzen to Ryzen second generation, we've seen a huge leap in performance with the Ryzen Threadripper second generation, from better power management to higher clock speeds, plus the addition of massively inflated core counts. Although AMD has made its official announcement to open up pre-orders, there is still plenty to be revealed. So be sure to keep this page bookmarked. We'll keep it updated with any Ryzen Threadripper second generation news that comes our way. Let's see. Thought I saw some tech. Okay, we got some tech specs here. Thanks to thanks to moving to the same Zen Plus 12 nanometer architecture used in the recent Ryzen second generation processor, Ryzen Threadripper second generation gains better power management, higher clock speeds, and most notably a huge increase in possible core counts. Here's a quick spec breakdown of the current Ryzen Threadripper second generation lineup. All right, we got the Ryzen Threadripper 2920X, which is 12 cores, 24 threads, clocked at 3.5 gigahertz to 4.3 gigahertz. We got the 2950X, which is 16 cores, 32 threads, 2970WX, which is 24 cores, 48 threads, and 2990WX, which is 32 cores, 64 threads. Whew, boy. Now let's can we open up our put our geek hats on because I know I'm about to get schooled here. I don't portray myself as a geek on the level of others by any reason, but I still understand the significance of this. This baby right
Yeah,
here, huh?
nothing. I was just gonna say it would be great if Christian could actually jump on.
Yeah, that's really yeah. Hope they can jump on because really did save these for the last because I thought they'd be on right now.
No, we can still talk though, and then bring it back to open mic.
Yeah, these three these thread rippers, the information that we've been discussing on our panels and what we've been gathering through articles, the capabilities of these processors is immense. You know, I know you mentioned they could be cracking some serious SHA-256 um, crypto mining. Okay, we gotta. Oh man, you know what? How about this? I'm going to step aside because I understand my level of knowledge of these things are not on the same level as you all's too. How you doing, Christians? And I'm going
Doing
ahead
great.
let you
Here's Clark, Christian.
and Mike discuss this.
So
Okay.
you read it off a spec that was you read off a spec that was at the model phase of the article. So cores are what cores are to a CPU what cylinders are to an engine, right? So you see those 12 cores, that's like a 12-cylinder engine. Same thing with 16, 24, 32. And the threads would be more along the lines of, Christian, if you can mute yourself. Yeah, so threads are more along the lines of like valves as are to an engine as well. So sometimes you see some cars say that they have 16 valves or 24 valve, 24V or 32V. That's what the threads would be, to the CPU itself. And then you look at clock speed. Clock speed would be your horsepower. How much horsepower can that CPU put out at the time? And your horsepower is going to be derived from your cores and your voltage as well. So the higher voltage that you can crank up on a CPU is going to determine how much megahertz or gigahertz is going to come out of that CPU, and that's how much horsepower is going to put out. Christian, you can jump in.
That sounds like a good enough explanation to me, sir. What I'm more excited about the processors again is the PCI lanes. How many other devices you can go ahead and add onto that and have it run at full speed. Not so sure if we're gonna go back into like mining as much, but you can have like 4 video cards all going at a full uh, PCI 16 on the Threadrippers.
That's actually a very good point too. I almost forgot about that because some systems, if not most systems, are limited to 116x lane for your PCI lanes, and then the rest of them are just 4x and 1x, which is the amount of bandwidth that's available to a slot on a motherboard. If you don't have full 16x capability, then what happens is the performance of that PCI lane becomes limited, and that also limits your productivity. So having 416x lanes allows for powerful cars to actually generate more um, computational power on the peripheral side, not just the CPU side. AMD opened up or started something called Open Compute as a standard. So let me see if I can find the link.
Now, Christian, you mentioned that these new processors are able to do 3D printing.
Not 3D printing, but the new GPUs, the new video cards that's coming out.
Okay, yeah. Actually, that's our next topic. Yeah. So
I put the link in the group chat. I know if you can actually open up
got it.
that link.
Let's get to this one. All right, what we got here? This AMD.com, straight from the horse's mouth. Okay. So what? Just read from. Okay, what am I looking for here?
Just that first paragraph where it says OpenCL.
Okay, OpenCL is the first truly open and royalty-free programming standard for general-purpose computations and heterogeneous systems. OpenCL allows programmers to preserve source code investment and easily target multi-core CPUs, GPUs, and APUs. Applications accelerated with OpenCL can access the combined processing power of a computer or server's GPU and CPU or APU cores under a single unified platform, a game-changing development for HPC users.
HPC means high performance computing.
Okay. Um, develop in Developed in an open standard committee with representatives from major industry vendors, OpenCL gives users what they have been demanding: a cross-vendor, non-proprietary solution for accelerating the application of CPUs, GPUs, and APUs. AMD, an early supporter of OpenCL and leading innovator and provider of high performance CPUs, APUs, and GPUs, is uniquely positioned in this industry to offer a complete acceleration platform for OpenCL. All right, now, Mr. Mike V, can you decipher or translate what I just read to the people that are listening to this?
Basically, what AMD is trying to do is take all of the computing products available on the shelf and put them into one box and turn them into a supercomputer. So you can take your NVIDIA GeForce, you can take your AMD Threadripper CPU, you can take your your AMD Radeon and have it all in one system and basically just go gangbusters as one Voltron sort of system, comprising of multiple different platforms on under one hood.
Okay. So let me. I'm pretty sure I got this straight. I can take my AMD processor, connect it to like a different motherboard, and use different
No,
graphics cards with it.
not different motherboards, but you're using um, different components to for one single task. So let's say you have 4 graphics cards, like Christian was mentioning earlier about the PCI lanes. If you have 4 graphics cards working at full bandwidth length, um, at full bandwidth on the PCI lanes, and then you have single socket or dual socket motherboard that has 2 AMD Rippers in a variety of video cards, whether they're AMD, Intel, or the AMD Radeon or the Snapdragon processor that you see in some of these Android smartphones. You can take all of those components and basically use them as one single unit to crack numbers.
Mm.
And this is available through your open compute language, which is OpenCL.
Okay, now oh my God. Okay, again, like I said, my knowledge is not on the level of you all, but I understand the significance of this. My question to both of you all: how, how much power are we talking? What can you do with this if you have this at full speed, at optimal speed? Well, not speed, but optimal performance. What can you do with this type of high performance computer?
Crypto mining on the fly, number crunching of like RC5 or some of these other open source projects that are going around the world. You're basically delivering computing power without actually separating it. See, typically before you would have had to buy 3 or 4 different systems and have them separate, but now they're taking all of the components and you're dumping it into one system, and you're basically launching a massive supercomputer out of one box.
Mm. Okay, same
Typically,
question.
supercomputers or
Go ahead.
typically supercomputers are comprised of hundreds, if not thousands, of other computers inside of a rack, inside of a data center that has to perform as one single unit. So Japan used to have the fastest supercomputer, and then America had the fastest supercomputer, and now China has the fastest supercomputer on the market.
But with this coming out, that okay. Now with this coming out, what would that do?
It just brings it
It
down
brings that down to a bare minimum. Go ahead.
I was going to say that breaks it down to where a home user can actually build something like that. First thing I thought about with all that power, brute force attacking.
Mm. Brute force. Okay.
Yeah, like if you want to like sit there and brute force, I'm going to guess what your password is. Uh, you get a system that can accommodate 4 video cards at full speed. It's also got 64 threads.
And threads is the is more tantamount to what again?
On each core, well, let me think of how to explain that.
No, the analogy Mike used at the beginning.
Well, yeah, you talked about like cylinders in the car.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Your
Um,
cores, your cores would be your cylinders, and your threads would be your valves.
there you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what you're saying, Christian, is with this OpenCL, a home user can compete with a future home user can compete with current nations who go back and forth on who has the best supercomputer on the same scale of what we have in our hand now on our cell phones have more power than what I'm going to put this in quotation marks 'cause I know how people know about this, what I feel about this, but how they use the computer at that time to put a man on the moon.
Sad to say, but yeah, you have a lot more power than what NASA had back in the day. But yeah, I think I
So,
know where you're going with that.
mm,
My thing is like if you had a good GPU, you can like start doing 3D animation and whatnot. Now with this type of system, with so many lanes and everything's like within a person's reach, you can just have one gigantic supercomputer and you can like do your own cartoons. That's the first thing that's the only thing that pops in my mind right now.
mm, okay.
It was like before you would have to go to like a huge company like Pixar or Disney, like, hey, I got this idea for this. You had more than enough power to go ahead and do that yourself.
You go ahead and make your own movies at home.
Movies, add special effects.
Mhm.
You're able to run multiple applications at once. Typically back in the day, you would have had Adobe Premiere or something like that, or 3D. What was it? 3D Studio Max. When you start rendering, you kind of minimize or you stop doing anything else because you want the render to finish
Mhm.
at max performance in the shortest amount of time. Now you can throw rendering, 3D rendering. You can throw in number crunching for crypto mining. You can throw
What?
in just about anything, and it's not going to stop functioning at all. Back in
Wait.
the day, computers sucked in that regard because you only had like a Pentium 2, maybe a Pentium 3 at best. Moving at maybe 400 megahertz, 500 megahertz. That's nothing. that was nothing back then. That was weak sauce. Today, you're talking about 3.5 gigahertz, 4.5 gigahertz. Yeah,
Oh,
that was weak. You couldn't do anything back then. You could only do one thing at a time back then.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to play video games,
that's all you can do.
well, you had to build a dedicated gaming machine just for that.
Mm.
Now your gaming rig is actually your workstation.
So I forgot who mentioned this. One of you all mentioned have a dual processor um, motherboard with what 4 GPUs on it.
Maybe eight
Um,
GPUs if you're lucky.
yeah, I was about to say I can't remember the name. What's the server in AMD's that they got? Epic or
Oh, you mean Opteron?
not Opteron? It's the newer one. It's like uh Zion's
Oh,
or
the
Epic.
Epic.
Yeah,
Epic.
that the processor itself is 128 lanes. So that's 8 video cards right there.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so how many lanes does one video card have?
One video card full speed is 16.
Okay.
So Threadripper is 64. You can pop in 4, no problem. The Epic processor is 128 lanes. So whatever motherboard that they go on, yeah, it can hold 8 video cards. That's on one processor. So if you get a dual processor, one of those, yeah, you can hook up.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Repeat what you said again after, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Because I'm thinking about three different questions to ask, and I'm hearing you at the same time. Can you please repeat what you just said, please?
Okay. Uh, Threadripper is 64 lanes.
64 lanes, which is the
So you,
core, well, something, right?
it's just the pistons.
Okay, the
Uh,
threads, the
Right.
threads.
uh, well, okay, sorry. Now, pistons. That's sorry. Okay. Threadripper has 64 PCI lanes. PCI lanes is what your computer uses to talk to you directly. If it's going
Mm.
to talk to you like some of the solid state hard drives, it's going to take 4. Your video card needs 16 to run at full speed. So if you hook up a system with nothing but video cards, you can hook up 4 on the Threadripper. The server end class for big businesses, I think its name is Epic. It's 128 lanes. That's twice the power. That's 8 video cards that you're gonna have going full speed if you're gonna do crypto mining or just brute force attacking. Now, if they have a motherboard that's got dual, because this is server grade equipment, so yeah, you can easily have dual or maybe even quads. A dual would have 16 video cards on it if you're going to process that much work. Again, for crypto mining or brute force attacking.
Okay, okay. So,
So Threadripper is just you at the house. It's the Dodge Charger. The Epic, the server grade, and it's like Formula One racing. One over here is professional. You do
I,
this
I,
with it. Did I say that wrong?
I would say that no, I wouldn't say that you're wrong, but I would also compare it more to the Dodge SRT Demon or the Hellcat.
Okay.
mm,
Like that's the absolute top of the line um, SRT V10 engine that you can get on the market, and it basically obliterates anything in its path.
That's
so
Now, to answer
yeah.
Preem's question, I just want to answer Preem's question in the chat. Preem asked, was there a consumer benefit to this? And um, just like I was saying to him in the chat that there is a consumer benefit, even coming from a marketing perspective, like Preem's in marketing. So if you wanted to create massive a massive content filled advertisement through Google AdSense or something to that effect, you could run a huge presidential campaign, massive advertisement campaign right through right through that CPU, and it won't even blink.
Golly, you you gonna make Preem jump on the panel with that?
Well, it's a good
Okay,
investment, and if we look at AMD stock right now,
man, let me pull that up. I'll pull that up. Okay, so oh man, AMD stock 25
you
17.
probably see it. Yeah, you'll probably see it jump tomorrow, but it's on the uptick,
Yeah,
and
it
that's because
is.
these processors that are coming out, these video cards that they have coming out, everybody wants it because it does so much.
Okay, so I mean, you know me, you know, I I'm not saying I do it big in terms of that, the in terms of them guys, but I do it big, in terms of, I like the wallpaper TV, the curved computer monitor, that type of doing it big. And let's say I do I'm trying to justify this. So let's say I do the dual processor, with the eight, or I think it's the 8 or 16 GPUs, blah blah blah, the 4K monitors, everything. What can I do besides some crypto mining, Besides that, what can I do with this machine?
Host 100 masternodes.
My God. Wait. So with the mass nodes, I need different IP addresses.
Right, so you create them in virtual space. Right, so your IP addresses could be a massive amount. I mean, if they're hooked up correctly.
Can you repeat that one time, please?
I said your IP addresses can be virtualized if you're hooking them up correctly.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
virtual computing, virtual machines, right? Virtual machines need a lot of power too. Um, like I said, this processor would just rip right through it. That's why I call it a thread ripper.
Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Um,
Real
God,
quick, I just want to say, uh,
Go ahead.
some of the benchmarks for the NVIDIA 1080 Ti, they're already doing 8K by itself with one video card.
wait, 8K video?
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, let me go back one step. With the master node, they on a VP S, they're only taking up 3% of its power. You know, um, I want to log into it, but okay, with the you said 8K,
Yes, sir.
that's like a red video camera.
Yeah.
So you can process red video footage on on one of these
Yeah.
type of shit. Who? Oh my god.
Yeah. If you look at some of the gamers, they're complaining that most of the video games don't support uh, ray tracing. I just look at the CUDA cores. I was like, okay, that's almost twice as much CUDA cores as I'm running now. So just the processing power, I'm good with the stuff that I do. I play games every now and then, but I'm not a hardcore gamer. The processing power that's in the 1080 and the 1080 Ti, cool. I want that just for the power. My only
Okay,
complaint with it right now is I don't like the cooling they went with. I prefer the blower style that sucks up all the hot air that's inside of a computer and blows it out. I prefer that style of cooling now. The type of cooling that they got now, it just like cools down the chip itself, but it's blowing circulating hot air inside the case. and I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, now for the master node for the VPS that I use, well, VPS that that's preferred. It's just one CPU, and I don't know what CPU is it. Specs of the CPU, but it's 124 megabytes. And what's this? 1,000. Let's say 1,000 gigabytes. Now with that, they just use less than 10%, less than 10% of CPU usage. So, golly, man.
So if you had a program kind of like a VMware or VMware Workstation, you can say, I want this one core for this node. I want this one core for this node, and you just go on down the list. And then on each virtual machine, you say it's got this IP address on it. And if you buy enough IPs, public IP addresses from your provider, and you go to your router and say like this one goes to this address, this one goes to this address, you can set everything up in one gigantic box.
You could set up a million IPs
Yeah.
What the?
of IP6.
Ooh. Okay, I think we need to get to the next article because we about to geek out here. Because it ties into what we've already been talking about. Okay, our next article comes from Tech Radar. Hands-on NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti review. This was written 5 days ago. Updated version. We are now able to publicly Okay. We're now able to publicly discuss our experience with several PC games we played with the RTX 2080 Ti, and we've updated our impressions on NVIDIA's new flagship graphics cards. NVIDIA, this is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. Okay, before I continue, will this NVIDIA? I already know the answer to this. I believe. Will this fit on a motherboard that holds this Threadripper?
Yes, sir. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Any old motherboard that's got 16 lanes to it.
Keep in mind that the computing industry is pretty standardized, so if it's advertised, then it works with the other.
Oh man. It says NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti is a whopper of a graphics card that's finally able to push 60 frames per second, 4K gaming with a single G. You know what? Oh my God. 60 frames per second, 4K gaming. Gaming, not looking at a movie, gaming with a single GPU. Open mic. Open mic on that one.
I want to see some
But
more benchmarks before I come off of that price.
it said, but more impressively, it also features ray tracing and AI-driven tensor cores to push a new revolution in computer graphics.
You stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. Oh man, this. Excuse me. You know, some people gonna be foolish and say, "Well, it's there. I might as well get it." And then they say, "I might as well get 8 of them or 10 of them." But with one GPU, you can do 60 frame per second. Golly, man. And
And it's got 44 CUDA cores, which is the
no,
processor, which is like your cylinders, like we said,
Cu-
4400.
CUDA core is 4,352. Hmm.
Right. So cores on a graphics card would be are very micro. So that's why there's so many of them.
Okay. This is amazing, man. Any of y'all are going to plan on um testing these two things out, the GPU and the CPU?
I want to see some more benchmarks on the GPU before I drop that type of money.
Because they
And
say like they're $1,000 per, right?
for the TI, yeah, the 2070, I think is right around 600, 700. Doesn't have as many processors on it, but I think it'll still get on up there. Maybe not like a full 60 frames per second, everything turned on, but it'll still get on up there.
And this is just with one. Well, with this one, just with one GPU. That's amazing, man. Hey, it's open mic. You know, it's I'm in amazement. So I'm thinking about this. So I can play some games, play some RPG games, look at Saturn or Jupiter, and do some crypto mining all on the same machine.
Yes, sir.
Yes, if you have, yeah. I typically don't think you would be playing video games like this and looking at Saturn at the same time, but you could play this video game and still crack some GPU, still crack some numbers in the back, whether you're using it for crypto mining or some other project or rendering 3D or movie rendering in the back. Sometimes YouTube even takes time to render too. So depends on what you're trying to do and how many elements are involved in your production. So I know a lot of people use Fruity Loops for music production, maybe GarageBand. Well, not GarageBand. What's the other product? What's the other product? I forget the name of the audio product by Sony, but it's Acid. That's what it is. Acid.
Mm, mm, mm. That's amazing, man. Yeah, but yeah. It's open mic. I don't know if Complex is here to speak about the other.
No, no, he's not here yet. He won't. He probably won't be on.
Okay, but yeah, that's a that's amazing computer. Like what the possibilities that could be done on there is. I'm pretty sure there are going to be some people that record YouTube videos that's going to show off, what they can do on these with these computers, given one processor, 8 GPUs, 2 and 16, whatever the case may be. There's going to be
A
some
lot of this stuff,
inspirational.
a lot of these these computers actually get used for simulation, right? So you need to predict when, let's say, a cancer patient, you know, what is the accuracy of the infection or where it's spreading, where it started from, where it's going to go. A lot of that stuff gets used in simulation. So that's where those cores come in real handy.
Mm, okay. I mean, that's great because now it's more powerful and the level of simulation is greater, is quicker.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other comments on these two things?
I haven't finished building my computer yet. I got my chassis, I got my power supply, but I just need to get a motherboard and some graphics cards and the
Okay.
SSD drive, and I should.
What
What kind
chassis
of
you go with?
yeah?
What was that you
What
said?
cha what chassis did you go with?
I bought a Corsair. I bought it on Black Friday, but I haven't had any time to really get around to it to actually start implementing, because I was waiting for the new AMD products to drop. So let me see if I can pull up the image of it. Oh, that's not it.
Anybody else have built in your own computer?
I went with a Fantech case. I got just a Ryzen 1700 gigabyte motherboard, 64 gigs of RAM. I can run all the VMs and stuff I need on it for what I need for work.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Money, no object. What? I kind of heard you there. What would you do?
There's a game called PC Simulator. I actually built mine. I will go with the Gigabyte Threadripper. That's a ATX. I don't know if I'll go for the big one because I think most of the work I'm going to be using for the type of stuff I do, I just want the video card. So I can go with like there's a low one that's like 8 cores, 16 threads. They both still all have 64 PCI lanes, so that'll still do me good, and I can still do all my virtual machines that I need to do on the processor with that.
Anything fancy like water cooling?
Uh, no, I'm still a little nervous about water cooling. My other system I had, 2 systems before this one, I had water cooling, and I heard my pump starting to make noise. And I thought about how much money I spent on that processor. Yeah, I didn't want to go down that road. So most of my stuff is water cooled now.
Wait, you said most of your stuff
You know,
is water cooled?
Uh, I mean not water cooled, air cooled.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got off of that water stuff.
What's interesting is about Black Gnostic over on BGS's channel. He actually has a water cooled system too. He has an AMD 6 core that I think is water cooled. And sometimes you see the hangout freeze, or sometimes his computer shuts down because it's too hot. That water cooling could be pretty tricky if you're not doing it right.
Mm.
If you don't have the right case to like pull that hot air out, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So besides
Or
water
you didn't.
cooling, go ahead, Mike.
Well, now I was just gonna say that what Christian's point was, you didn't do the water test correctly.
Mm. I got the Corsair up. This is the one you okay. I see the fan.
Obsidian series, nothing. Yeah,
Oh,
nothing to do with that other guy on the other channel. Well,
serious. That's a good one.
I had the 250D a couple of systems back. I really like that case.
yeah,
That's a big fan
yeah,
in the
I love
back.
it. I got it on Black Friday. That's in the front.
What's the front? Front, my bad. This is in the wait. Which one was I just at? This is the back.
That's the back right there. Yep.
Okay. So is creating. I'm guessing it's creating a tunnel effect.
Positive to negative pressure. So when you have more cubic square feet of fan volume, then that means it's positive. When you have less and coming out of the back, coming out the rear, then that means it's negative. So if you have two equal, then it will be positive, positive. So your air pressure matters and how you get your heat out of your chassis.
Hmm. Oh, how you doing, Jack? How you doing today?
What's going on, Jack?
What's going on, brothers?
Geek it
Chilling,
out,
man.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I
how
was gonna
often?
ask you. I was
Go
asking you
ahead.
guys a question. What's your thoughts on quantum internet and quantum communications? I've been doing some more research on it, and I know we were talking about I think the last couple of hangouts about quantum communications in space. But I've seen the Chinese are making more breakthrough on that. I haven't seen anything new, but like the articles I've been finding are probably like from this past summer, as far as June and March. But as far as quantum internet, what's the capability with quantum internet?
You're talking fast, beyond fast. which whatever you have now, you can multiply that times 64, if
Mm.
not 120. So the Chinese built the satellite that has quantum computing in it for cryptocurrency purposes to get around the ban on ISPs or the monitoring of the ISPs when it comes to doing crypto payments and transactions.
Mm. So is that going to be the kind of the system what blockchain is going to be used off of? Quantum computers. That's going to be the new trend, right?
Quantum computing is used for supercomputing.
I'm sorry. For quantum internet, as far as quantum internet.
Well, quantum internet works off of quantum computing, so
Okay.
um, the communications layer for that it hasn't really 100% been established
Mm.
as of yet, to my knowledge. To my knowledge,
Got you. So it's pretty much in like the
but
infancy
you
stage
use
now.
right. You would use quantum computing if you want your satellites to communicate from one solar system to the other.
Makes sense because with that distance, I know we talked last time. It's like you know, it take time to get information. But you take sometimes it takes just a day, like a day and a half, to get some information from one side of I guess the
Exactly.
galaxy to the other, which is really fast. But yeah, seeing uh seeing how fast the speed of light and whatnot in this distance. But yeah. So how
Yeah, right. Because
go ahead.
now I was just gonna say because right now we're just using traditional communications. In terms of networking, if you look at the Hubble is still using technology from the early '90s, from the '80s.
Yeah,
So you factor in now that was 30 years ago, and it's still working, but it's not as optimal as what you would use for your broadband from Comcast or Verizon.
mm. So what do you think is the years on that? What, another like 15, 20 years before the whole switch to that?
Well, we don't really need it. It's not really required for us. What are
Okay.
we doing that we really need it? I mean, for what we use it right now, 4K video, 8K video, that's not really sufficient for quantum computing and communications. However, they can easily turn up the performance on your fiber optics, your Verizon Fios or your Comcast copper internet over copper. So it, we have enough performance on the ground now. It's just a matter of the ISPs actually opening up the floodgates with it. It's unfair that in the United States that we pay so much money for these internet services, but in places like South Korea, they get the same service for like $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so cheap over there? Like, how's it cheaper? Is it I know there? Is it more because of the free market in America or?
No, it's because the other countries around the world do not allow for ISPs to lock you into a contract. That's unacceptable by
Mm,
government standards. In the United States, they can tether us, put a carrot in front of our face and dangle it because they're pretty much they're not being challenged, and that's where net neutrality comes in, right?
okay.
Net neutrality actually challenges that.
Mm.
All right. All right. Any other points for tonight?
We can actually get to that last article about the rocket.
All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and get to that there. Un momento. Okay. Excuse me. The Icarus. All right. All right. Last article on the docket for tonight. It is a YouTube video, the Icarus Electric Rocket Thrust Vectored Flying Duct Fan. I don't know too much about rockets, so I'll defer to whomever have some knowledge about these. Anyone?
Jack, you go ahead. Jack, you can go ahead.
Well, I watched a little bit of that video. Regarding that, I don't really have too much experience with rockets, but it's very interesting as far as being electric. I don't know what it comes to playing because I know that what they have going on in the moon right now, they're trying to get the water for fuel. As far as playing, I think the hydrogen and the oxygen to create fuel. So I don't know how this is going to play in and their scheme of things. What's your thoughts on it?
I haven't watched all of the article as of yet, but I mean, watched all the video as of yet, but from what it sounds like to me is that um, they're testing out. He's testing out vertical takeoff from an electric propulsion position, which is a very interesting approach to it because I never thought about that. But in space, you don't have any oxygen, so there's nothing for you to push. There's no air to push.
Yeah, but I think it'd probably be good for just getting out of the atmosphere, and then from that point on, you know, um, let's say that you know how we do the jump off from they can do electric to out the atmosphere. From the atmosphere they can use get hydrogen fuel whatever to the moon. That'd be a good idea for that. But or another idea for that too is to get you, let's say they have stations built around the earth, living quarters or whatnot. It could be like that too, or to travel. uh yeah, I think like to travel outside the atmosphere, but how far we get to a certain point of the atmosphere where um, it will be ineffective. Will you still be in that
Once
gravitational
you get
pull?
out of Leo, once you get out of Leo, so which is low Earth orbit, that's the space in between um, the top of Earth, which would be the ceiling of Earth, which is
Okay.
like I think it's like 58,000 feet or something like that. And in between that and your outer orbit, which is about maybe 30 miles, I think it's 30 miles above Earth. That's
Hmm.
your low Earth orbit. And then after that, everything else you lose gravity and you lose air. So that's why you see some of the videos I think we posted before. You see like a weather balloon that was used to used to lift the camera up, to Leo. The balloon usually pops after a certain point, and then the camera comes crashing back down.
Hmm. Hmm. Makes sense. But let's say what it would be able to do, let's say something like that, like go up in the air, Earth movement, and then kind of like pinpoint it down, I guess, through blockchain to like come back down at a certain point, so you can kind of like travel going up, Earth movement, and then go back down to a certain place. Instead of flying straight over there, like going straight up. Would that be another way to use it? You think?
So yeah, I think you're referring to reusable rockets.
Yeah, that's what Blue
Yeah, I
Orchid
think
is
you're
doing, right?
Tesla.
Origin.
I mean,
Oh,
SpaceX.
you're talking about SpaceX. You're talking about SpaceX.
SpaceX, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they've mastered that. That's something that's very unique to their to their company of reusable rockets. It saves a lot of money instead of
How
building
many
new
use?
rockets.
How many times can that be used? How many? What's the cycle life on that on a rocket that they reuse?
As many times as they need to.
Mm.
I mean, it's sustainable, right? So I think it only failed maybe once or twice, and then every time after that, they've gotten it right. It's made its hit its target.
You got any comments on this, Christian?
No, sir. I don't have anything.
I think that vertical takeoff landing because that's what's in the video, vertical takeoff and landing. From electric standpoint, that could be used for like microsatellites, things that are only going to be up there temporarily, that don't require anything going into outer orbit. I don't see it going past that, but that is a very neat idea though, right? How I would improve upon that would be like using something more magnetic. Um, so using like a funnel or something to that effect, some sort of canister that with a magnet on the inside that basically electromagnet that would actually shoot that device into the air and then let the the electric propulsion actually take its way all the way to the rest of the distance. Because you can
That's
use
pretty smart.
right, you can use electromagnetics to actually launch something, but it won't. Once it takes off, it's on its own. The other portion could be you could use nitrous oxide to actually get something off the ground as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the video. He's really working this thing.
Yeah, if it was made of carbon fiber, it'd be much lighter, and it wouldn't need as much. It wouldn't need as much as power to actually lift it, because
No, it's
the lift capabilities are actually dependent upon weight.
is carbon fiber the lightest that can be that a rocket can get?
It's the lightest material available, to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
This is a good rough draft, though.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good rush draft. If he had a bigger, I mean, I guess you could go bigger, right? You could add a I forget the actual term for it, contra propeller. Yeah, I think it's contra propeller. Basically, the British had came up with a solution in the 1940s during World War II to how to get their Spitfire planes off the ground quicker at a shorter distance, and they used two propellers moving in the opposite direction of each other on takeoff, so that instead of using a runway that would be like a 100 150 yards, you would only need like 50 yards to actually take off, or like 30 yards to take off.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. Contra propel. Yeah, contra propellers.
It's pretty cool, man.
And that was 3D printed, right?
It looks like
Yeah, I think it was three. Yeah.
yeah.
Locast was in the chat and said it was. No, actually, he didn't say that.
Yeah, the cast on the right looks like it was 3D printed. Yeah.
Yeah, the link I just put in the group chat is a Wikipedia to the
Okay.
to show you how it functioned on a plane.
Okay. Okay. Here it goes. Contra rotating propeller on a Rolls-Royce Griffin powered P-51 Unlimited Racer. And these take off with less real estate.
1/4 of the real estate necessary for a plane to take off from.
Okay.
I think the Russians still use theirs, which is I think it's called the Russian Bear, which is like their version of the B-52 bomber. that was built in the 1950s and still used it to this very day. They actually just retrofitted it um, or retro upgraded it with modern technology, so it has all the artificial intelligence computing necessary to carry out a bombing mission from Moscow. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And it was built in the 1950s, and they still use it.
Hmm.
Now I got one video that I wanted to share.
Hmm.
Throw that in the chat.
Okay, on the four contra rotating propellers on the Tu-95 Russian strategic bomber.
Yep. The Tukalov 95. You could actually do that for vertical takeoff.
Okay, Chinese new weapon shoots around. Wow.
Yeah, I think I've seen American soldiers using that too. But the officers are using it now.
Okay, so yeah, I think okay.
Damn, that has laser sight.
It's crazy.
Wow. See, that's interesting about the recoil on that from that angle is kind of, it shoots very accurate.
Yeah, I'd be
Wow.
curious to know how it is able to absorb all of that energy and where's it putting it.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to my case, I know I still have it in the box, but yeah, it's definitely going to be water cooled. I don't have any choice. When your chassis is that small, it's hard to manage all that heat that's going to come out of it. Especially you got two video cards like what was seen in the link. You got two G forces in there, and a big CPU like a Threadripper. That's definitely going to create lots of heat. Now that might be fine if you live up in Canada and it's cold in the winter. Those Chicago winters. You can use that computer as a space heater.
Yeah, man. 2 for 1. 2 for 1. But yeah,
My old computer my old Athlon used to put out so much heat. I used to just turn my thermostat down, just let the computer heat the house.
goodness gracious. All thing you gotta do is just have the computer on, right? At some
Oh
points.
yeah, yeah. I didn't. I mean, I don't know too many people who do turn off their computers. When I get up in the morning, I just want to get on my computer and it's already ready. I don't wait for it to boot up.
Yeah, the booting up process. Like, what is this? So with the well, what we were just talking about, you could just use that main high, excuse me, that main high performance computer as your main workstation, and whatever like Chromebooks or whatever you may have, you can hook up to there and use its power.
You could.
Is That's amazing, man. That's that's what I'm talking about.
What are you using right now, Lino?
I don't have no desktop. I got a laptop. I got two
Yeah.
laptops,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna definitely upgrade my computing capabilities.
Yeah. If they come out with a Threadripper laptop, you'll be just fine.
Nah, I think I'm going to I like laptops. I ain't got it's they much more convenient, but I'm I'll I'm gonna get a high performance desktop and just use its power with any other connecting device I may have. That's how I see I'm going to have my setup is as have a main central workstation and just have its power when I'm in the room or somewhere else from home, connect to it and use its power if I need to. Amazing, man. Yeah. Any other comments, queries, questions?
When is your next EDX class?
Starts September 30th. I'm taking blockchain and cryptocurrency on edx.org through UC Berkeley. The cryptocurrency part starts September 30th. I just got finished with the blockchain part. After that, I'm going to go on to some Linux and Python so I can be a part of the crowd that's flocking to this new technology. Yes. It's outstanding, people. Outstanding. Nice little geek session. I appreciate it. I learned a few things, as always. Anyone listening to this channel, hope you all learn any something, at least one thing every time you listen to a show of ours. That's what we strive for, sharpening each other's swords. Um, with all that said, any other comments?
Nothing for me.
All right, don't forget to come back Wednesday. We have our geopolitics show. Good stuff. I'm pretty sure we got some good stuff in there also. But that's it. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Brain Trust. Talk to you all later.